showtime.
It's about that time.
Let's go.
You're right where you need to be. This is GCOM Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah.
Powered by Lyfeblood.com.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix.
Give them that flavor.
Wait for it.
All right. Let's go, folks. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? What's going down for everybody that's out there, wherever you hit listening to the show? I just got finished eating some spring rolls. Had to knock that down before I even started getting on this mic. Before I start talking to everybody. I was starving, man. I wasn't even starving. I just wanted to get something to eat before I get on this thing. And then I have to worry about it. I could just, barrel through with it and get the thing done and compress and everything. And it's up and, excuse me, up and loaded. Had a little spring rolls and tangerine juice. And I'm ready to go and get on this mic and talk about these topics I want to talk about. Hoping everybody's week was all right. It's been fantastic. You guys are getting ready for the fall weather. I know I am. It's still not quite there yet. It's hard to sell down in those train stations, but it's all good when you're out and about. You know, that fall weather definitely is coming in. I can't wait for the colors of the trees to change. It's really beautiful during the fall, man. I really love that. But yeah, man, it's fall time in New York City, man. It's coming close to getting this year over and done with. Can you imagine that? That we're almost there, man. Almost there. But yeah, that's what's up. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling. No, that's small dog. And then we can get to talking what we need to talk about. All right, I'm your host, Nova Phoenix, on GCOM Radio, on iHeartRadio. And let's get going with the first topic of the day. And before we get to the first topic, I like to give a fast shout out to Stephen A. Stephen A. from First Take. Let me tell you something, man. I just saw it on social media. I don't know who this individual was, but this man started to talk on the First Take show at the round table. Of course, Stephen A. got a co-host on there for the day, and it was this black brother. I don't remember looking at this woman because I was so concentrating on what this white dude was saying. There was a woman on the show and this white guy, middle-aged white guy. Yo, he was going off. It was like he definitely had my mouth gaped. Listen to him. He was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to hang out with my two dogs and then I'm going to have half a gummy. And everybody knows what half a gummy means. That means weed, marijuana, half a gummy. And then I'm going to watch the game. I'm going to put 10 racks on it. He didn't say racks, but 10 grand. I'm like, yo, this dude is wild. And the black dude host was like, yo, what is this dude saying? He talking crazy on the show. He talking about marijuana and betting on games. This guy was just going off. This middle-aged guy was not holding nothing back. There was no filter. He was just letting it all out. This is what I'm going to do with my weekend. You know what Stephen A. was doing? Stephen A. was very quiet. Did not crack a smile. He looking at this white dude like, I know what you do. You think Stephen A is stupid? Stephen A been doing this talk radio thing or TV show for way too long. He been in communications way too long not to know when to recognize a trap. What are you talking about, Noah? What are you talking about, trap? He was like, if I go ahead and key and laugh and snicker about what this dude is saying about drugs, about gambling, they're gonna make it seem like I said those words, and then you're gonna jeopardize my show, First Take. That's what everybody's gonna be talking about after this. If I go and start agreeing and laughing along with this dude, forget that he said it. It's the fact that me, Stephen A, actually are agreeing with the words coming out of this white man's mouth. Oh no, Stephen A was slick. Don't ever think he is stupid. Stephen A was sharp looking at this white man. Yo, I just farted. I don't know if the mic picked it up. Spring roll. Some pieces of spring roll went down my throat the wrong way. Yo, it was hilarious. Stephen A was giving him his side eye like, I know what you doing. I'm watching Stephen A because I want to see his reaction. And he was not falling for the bear trap. He was not falling for the banana in a tailpipe. And then the black co-host is like, he was starting to get that energy, like he was picking up the signals like, yo, should I be laughing at this or shouldn't I? Or nah. And then when it kept on going, he was like, all right, I'm gonna get into it. So he was kind of like, he knew he was getting that brother vibe, like he was getting that energy from Stephen A, like, oh, wait a second, he talking kind of crazy. But he kept on going with it. He's like, all right, but not Stephen A. The host at First Take, he didn't want to be sitting up and messing up his bag, sitting in front of in the front office, or whoever who was running the show of ESPN and talking about, I didn't say it, but you laughed, Stephen A. You laughed. That means you agreed. That's how I read the whole thing. That's how I was read, because I pulled it back a couple times and rewounded it just to take in that scene, and I was like, yo, this dude is talking crazy. And he kept on saying gummies. Yeah, I'm gummies. I'm like, okay. I'm gonna take the other half of the gummy. It was funny, but Stephen A was not going for it. Yeah, that was hilarious. I was laughing at that white guy, but I was also laughing just looking at Stephen A's reaction. Like, I was like, yeah, I know how Stephen A coming off. He's like, Mr. White Man, you ain't pulling me into this motherfucker. I bet you, he could be on the show, but I bet he thinking, because I know that's what I'd be thinking if I'm a Stephen A right-hand man or whoever in behind the camera. I'm like, let that be the last time this white man get talking reckless on this show. He ain't fucking up my bag. Yo, I tell you, boy. Oh, man. Oh, that's interesting. I would love to hear what the after post show what was on Stephen A's mind, everybody's mind, just to get some feedback on that situation. Because I was like, yo, this guy talking mad reckless. And, kids be watching ESPN and everything. Yeah, man. I swear, it's like, it's almost, I've been there before. I couldn't say, okay, let me reword that. I can't say I've been there before. I'll say I've seen it. I was witness to it before, where you have someone, they got the complexion for the protection and they gonna talk crazy, and that one black person is in that group. You know how it be. I ain't got to say too much, especially when I'm talking to black people. You go ahead and you could join that if you want to. Everybody, all the white dudes get off, or everybody white get off, but that one black person, oh man, don't go along with the bullshit, because you know what gonna happen to you. Wait a second, he was doing it? Nope. And that's exactly what happened when that joint popped off with Stephen A and that white guy. I have no idea who it is. Yeah, anywho. Shout out to Deion. Shout out to Deion and the Colorado Buffaloes for pulling that win 45-42 over TCU, Texas Christian University, Horned Frogs. Man, he was doing a thing. Everybody was on the sidelines. Deion Sanders brought out the whole squad on the sidelines. He brought out Weezy, Offset. I heard some Wu members were there, some NFL stars. I think The Rock was out there. That was crazy. And he made it a show, man. He turned that joint into a show. There's a lot of haters talking mess. There was a lot of everybody talking, yo, why is he wearing the glasses? Deion ain't all that. Why you gotta act like that? Listen, it is what it is. Deion did what he do, and he pulled in the win. Now, let's see what I'll take it like this. He's not a god. He's not a coach god, but Definitely at the same time, you got to give him props what props is due. He's definitely going to take some L's, and the haters are going to come out when the team does take an L, and they're just going to trash him. But Deion is going to do what Deion going to do, and he's going to bring that team. And I heard the tickets went from $100 or something like that to $500-$600 a ticket to getting to see that game. So yeah, man, I'm happy for Deion and the attention that he's getting. He's bringing the swag, he's bringing the culture to this team, to Colorado, and praise him, man. Praise him and his sons and everything like that. I don't think he's sticking around. I don't think people should get too comfortable with Deion. Knowing Deion, of course, I thought he was going to stay at JSU, but he didn't, and he ended up at Colorado because, at the end of the day, Deion's got to take care of Deion and his family, and he's going to get the bag. And with that in mind, he's not going to stay at Colorado. I give him about the same amount of time. Let's keep it like this. Let's keep it real like this. He brings Colorado for the win for the college season. I guarantee you the pro folks are going to be coming out, even if it's not a win. If he brings them to like number 3 in however it is, in the division or whatever you want to call it, he's getting calls from the pro league. All right, the NFL gonna come out and gonna start recruiting wherever they can recruit Deion. You best believe if there's anybody that's coming sideways as far as coaches are concerned on the NFL, they got a seat for Deion. And Deion, NFL's gonna throw a nice fat check at Deion to get him on whatever team, and he's gonna bring him up because, again, the Colorado TSU is at the very bottom. They were like, I talked about it on the show. I mean, they a sucky team, and here we go. He brought them out for a win, and I just see some big things happening if Deion keeps that magic, keep that Deion magic, and he sprinkle a little bit, sprinkle on Colorado. Yeah, he definitely gonna get some calls from the NFL. They're gonna reach out to him and be like, Deion, how you doing? Listen, can you come down? We'll fly you out. Definitely, he's not gonna stay at college in Colorado for like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, please. He's not doing that. He's setting himself up for a spot for an NFL team. So yeah, we'll see, man. Shout out to Deion, man. I don't know who's this calling me. I'm getting a ring. Yeah, so the next thing, VP Kamala, excuse me, let me say her name right, Kamala Harris. This was based on a tweet that I was witness to a little bit ago. Is this lady called Nikki the God on Twitter. And she was kind of replaying Jason Lee. Everybody knows Jason Lee. He's in media, and he is actually the host of, I forgot the name of his show, Hollywood Unlocked. I believe it's Hollywood Unlocked. Let me see here. Jason Lee, Hollywood. Yeah, Hollywood Unlocked, right? And Jason Lee was pretty much talking about, I don't know why Kamala doesn't get any support, what y'all talking about, pretty much calling everybody like idiots for political buffoons for not supporting Kamala. And Kamala's got excuse me, again, there's some spring rolls. Kamala should get all the support in the world from black voters, and basically these black voters are ass backwards when they don't get any attention. And my thing is, it's you got to be careful on how people kind of shape this narrative in terms of the reception of VP Kamala Harris, and especially for black voters. And it's not as, of course, you got to be aware of all the trickery that's said, and the people that's just going to be like shills for the Democratic Party. And definitely there's going to be some folks that, regardless of what's being done, they're always going to support the Democratic Party, and they're going to bring out the pom-poms and they're going to shake them regardless of how much storms or whatever bullshit that's happening with the Democratic Party when it comes to how they're going to approach the black voters. They're always going to come out there and do some support. That's just what it is. It's the political game. It's politics. But I'm not trying to hear to bash Kamala Harris. I'm not a VP Kamala Harris. I'm not here to bash. This is not what it's about, but it's an honest conversation talk on why there isn't more of general support from black voters. By the way, now they did show some video of wherever VP Kamala Harris was. There was a long line in support for her. But at the end of the day, you cannot deny the fact that there are a lot of black voters that are pretty much not behind Kamala Harris and not on what you think. And it's more so of a personal conversation or a personal understanding on the Black American experience, the African American experience, and what they expect from VP Kamala Harris that has a particular background on a come up as she has with herself, and how she's representing herself as the VP and what that means for black people. And I come up with like 4 points. 4 points. And then I say this, let's start with, where is she? Where is she? I do not see, I'm very, I can say I'm a regular, regular in terms of activity on social media. I do not see a social media presence. And this is just a general understanding, not so much that in terms of how black people see her, but this is just my general feeling on Kamala. So the first one is, where is she? I don't think she really has a social media presence. If there is an issue with black voters on connecting with Kamala Harris or VP Kamala Harris, there should be more of a social media presence where there can be an open line of communication between her and reaching those black voters, so that you can ensure to get those proper votes when it comes time for the campaign and to run, leading into who you're going to vote for the next president for the next 4 years. And she doesn't really have a really hard-hitting social media presence. And I don't know, that could be Elon Musk throttling back her posts, her tweets, and it's really not reaching to the people. Because I know, as I said, I'm regular on in terms of activity on social media. I follow her on Twitter, and I really don't see her every day. I do not see her every day. And for the most recognized woman in terms of politics as the vice president, she should never be in a position where people do not see her. You want to drive the message. You want to drive the message, if not every day, every other day, to know that you're plugged into your voters. Because you know Republicans work overtime. They are working overtime in terms of how they pretty much want to bash the current campaign. And I'm not saying that as a Democrat, I'm an independent, but I just look at the political landscape and see how it's played, the strategies that are put forth in order to knock down the Democrats off their high horse and pretty much prop up the Republican Party. So I don't know if what is going on behind the scenes in the offices of Twitter, if they're throttling her tweets back, but that's definitely affecting how she communicates to black voters and to voters in general. I just saw her post something, and it's funny that as soon as I said my piece on Twitter in response to what Nikki the God posted with Jason Lee, now all of a sudden I'm just seeing her, VP Harris, not as much as there should be, but I still don't see enough. But the tweets that I do see, there's like 250 impressions, views, and you of course, the lower right hand corner of the tweet, you can press on that and see what activities she's having, see how many people are viewing her tweets, and it's like 150, 250, and that is very low. That is very low compared to what I see from accounts that I'm not, or any of the people that I know are not connected to. When I see people these profiles end up on my timeline, I see the activity and they're reaching 1 million, 2 million. And you don't even know if it's true, but the fact is you're seeing that. 2 million, what? People are, okay, I don't know this person, but they on my joint. 2 million people, 3 million views, 4 million views. And then you have Tucker Carlson come around and they're going to big this dude up when he first came on Twitter. This guy's got, he's got 150 million views. He's got 25 million views. Like, they're saying all these big numbers. What does VP Kamala Harris have? 200,000, 150,000. I'm like, what is happening? What is happening? And if she is not connecting with her people on Twitter, definitely there are other platforms where she can reach out. She can reach out on IG. She can reach out on Facebook. She can reach out on TikTok. And they're from what I can understand, TikTok doesn't throttle back any users. They're a lot freer when it comes to the outreach to people's followers when you do post. And I know definitely for someone like VP Harris, if she were to get on TikTok and she does it steadily, you would see those numbers go up and go crazy and go viral on whatever topics that she wants to discuss. So I think, number one, she doesn't really have a social media presence that connects with, in particular, black voters. And I don't see it. It's not efficient. It's not effective. She needs to do more. And if they're throttling her back on social media, she needs to say it, or someone connected to her needs to say it, but she definitely needs to say it. The other thing is the issues that she supports. Who is VP Kamala Harris besides being a VP? I think besides just her talking on a teleprompter and doing scheduled visits at events, at meets, at talks, who is Kamala Harris where she can truly connect with the voters, in particular, what I'm saying, with black voters? I do not see Kamala Harris really having a personal, a one-on-one connection to issues that are personal to black voters. When it comes to police brutality, when it comes to housing discrimination, when it comes to the prison industrial complex, when it comes to reparations, even those hot button topics like reparations, and really having an honest convo with the interviewer on what her viewpoint is. If people can truly connect with Kamala Harris, even if it's legislation that may not be politically reachable, even if people see in her words an honest display on her viewpoints on specific issues that affect black voters, it will touch them. But every time I see interviews of VP Kamala Harris, it's just, I don't see it. It doesn't connect. You can say one thing, regardless of how you feel about Obama. He is a master orator. He could connect with people. And the campaign that he ran, the campaign of hope, connected with millions of voters because people believed his words reached through the screen, reached through the radio, and connected with people because people truly felt that this president, President Barack Obama, was going to be a president that was going to truly forward change within government for the people. And of course, he was just good at that. And was there a proper follow through on a lot of different things that people talk about? No, it wasn't. When you look back on it, what legislation did Obama truly support, in particular African American voters, that people could say, yeah, he did this, he did that, he did this? Or this is what he did, and he pushed hard, and it didn't come through, but at least you saw the efforts. Same thing with Kamala Harris. I think that she doesn't really have the knack for really reading or talking to people without having a teleprompter in front of her. If she can really kind of come across and dig deep with the people, if she could really come across and dig deep within herself and having an honest conversation, a disarmed conversation with particular topics that affect African Americans, African American voters, I think that it would be so effective. It would be so effective in how people can connect with her and relate to her. I wouldn't say as far as voting, but at the very least, connect with VP Kamala Harris. Number 3, VP Kamala Harris is a Howard graduate. She graduated from an HBCU. And in those 4 years, an education that is surrounded by professors and students that would give her a unique experience that no other university can give her. That educational experience would shape her worldview in ways that can connect with voters if she had those honest conversations with people in interviews. And I think that unique educational experience would give Kamala ways or the ability to express herself on words similar to Michael Eric Dyson, would give her a young flair like a Mark Lamont Hill, would give her swag like Maya Angelou, or a sisterhood like Nicole Hannah-Jones, the creator of the 1619 Project. You would think that those 4 years would have shaped her personality and her viewpoints that would give her a unique way of talking to African-American voters. We don't see that. She did 4 years and graduated from Howard University, I believe. And it's just not something you would know based on those 4 years, how that would actually come out in the way she walked, the way she talked, how she sees things. We don't see that. VP Kamala Harris plays it by the numbers, and she doesn't step out of that. And she doesn't speak about those things. Yes, she can say, yeah, I graduated from Howard University from this year to that year, but nothing again that can strike right to the heart of African-American voters that you can only get if you went through that experience in Howard, that the information that you gathered from the events that you've been to with your friends, the conversations you would have with your friends, the education that you would get from the teachers, the whole gamut. We don't see that with Kamala Harris. People are not stupid. They feel energy. They feel the words. They say, oh, I know you came from, when somebody came from the streets, you know that. The way they talk, the way they move, if someone came from the streets. And the same thing, if someone came from an HBCU hardcore, hard body and came out with that information and armed and ready to see the world as what only African-American people can experience in this country. That leads to my fourth, her struggle with those issues. Because we don't see that. It comes across as struggle within those issues when she speaks to the interviewer. And I always said, even if she can't get behind specific subject matters, even if she knows specific issues will not win, people want Kamala Harris to speak to them. We understand it's hard politically on certain issues in government. We get that. African-American people in this country are not expecting VP Kamala Harris to put on a cape and all of a sudden she's going to fly through Congress and she's going to straighten everything out. Like she's Professor X and she's going to mind meld with everybody and they're just going to agree. Well, we know that is not the case. But we want to see that courage. When you speak about those things on one-on-one with interviewers, when you go into Congress and you talk about specific issues dealing with African Americans, people want to see them in her because they can't do that from where they are. They work in jobs. They work in 80 hours a week. They got to deal with this as far as dealing with a racist boss. They got to deal with police brutality. All those things that we talk about at the dinner table, all those things that we talk about with our friends and family, people want to see those points met with Kamala Harris. And you're going to tell me, no, she talks about all the time. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not saying for her to talk and answer like a robot to those issues. Hey, VP Kamala Harris, what do you think about what's going on? Please, and then there's this rope. No, they want the experience. They want to have that connection with VP Kamala Harris that you would not expect from any other politician that's currently in government right now. And there's not many, even the black ones, in which we were talking about. And a lot of times when I listen to Kamala Harris, and this is no disrespect, when she talks, to me, her speeches seem just loosely rehearsed. It seems a little demure. And it seems that her heart is not all the way in it when she speaks during those speeches. It's just not there. So it falls flat. And sometimes, you know, there's one politician I really do appreciate, was Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Man, if you were alive in the late 50s or in the early 60s and you were to experience Adam Clayton Powell Jr., this dude was an amazing, I believe he was a senator. And I can't believe I'm not remembering him right now on who he is. It was somebody, I saw a clip of Adam Clayton Powell a long time ago, and it caught me, and I was watching there's not that many videos of Adam Clayton Powell Jr. On YouTube, but the ones that are on there, you definitely, I mean, this dude is a powerful orator, and he speaks to the people, as I said. So Adam Clayton Powell Jr. was an American Baptist pastor and politician who represented Harlem neighborhood of New York City in the United States House of Representatives from 1945 to 1971. And that man spoke, man. He spoke when he was trying to get across that message. He was speaking to the people. I mean, you would wish some of these black politicians had the swag of Adam Clayton Powell Jr. I mean, this dude was a skillful, I mean, his confidence, his rebelliousness, how he spoke, his skillful jazzy wittiness that no other politician that I can come close to in that time period had with Adam Clayton Powell Jr. I mean, he was nice with it, man. He spoke to the people, and he had issues. He had pushback because of what he was talking about black power, talking about the struggle of the African Americans, what we were aiming for, what we wanted to do, everything, the pain, the struggle, the objectives to achieve, reaching the promised land. That was Adam Clayton Powell Jr., man. And there's no even politicians today that can match Adam Clayton Powell. And I would say Barack Obama, as a skilled orator, definitely he had that connection with people. But Adam Clayton Powell, it touched nerves the way Barack Obama. It's kind of like, the best way I can explain it is between Adam Clayton Powell Jr. and Barack Obama. Like, Barack Obama is, say, for instance, Beyonce, right? A lot of people connect with Beyonce, right? She, you know, people get touched nerves. No. Better yet. You know, erase Beyonce for a second. Barack Obama is Prince. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. is Michael Jackson. You understand what I'm saying? Two powerhouses in the art form of music, and they touch you the same. They touch your nerves the same. Where people break down and crying and doing all this and wailing and all that. Barack Obama does touch people. He has that ability. But the same thing as Adam Clayton Powell Jr. And the thing is, with Adam Clayton Powell Jr. and his rebelliousness and the way that he spoke in a time where it was like overt racism in every which way. So you would think he would be one of those demure Negroes, and no, but he was very much at it, speaking to the people, defiant in the face of white supremacy, especially in the 1950s and 60s. Defiant. You don't have that today. You would think Adam Clayton Powell, the atmosphere or the political atmosphere will be perfect for an Adam Clayton Powell to come through and talk that talk, as opposed to what it was back in the 1950s and 60s. But you don't have that today. But you had it then, and Adam was a man back then? Well, I don't understand. It's crazy. But I personally think it's not so much of in terms of in-your-face racism or covert or overt, whether you're dealing with overt racism or covert racism. I think there's a new master, and it's not white supremacy. And this is just my feeling, just thinking off the top of the head. I think the new master is money. I think the new master is money. You don't want to mess up the bag. You know, politicians, they go after it like any other social media influencer. They going after the bag. And, you know, when you're a public figure, there's a lot of ways to get the bag. And I think that's the new master. How it's different from how it was. And there wasn't this much money flowing around the way that it is back in the day. When you were a politician, public figure, you were a public figure for the people, and you represented that. You acted in that way. You acted accordingly. But today, there's so many different ways to get money. So you kind of check yourself and be like, well, I don't want to mess up the bag. That's how I take it. Because how come we don't have an Adam Clayton Powell Jr. politician, black politician that has that courage, that fire, that flame in his chest, and he speaks to the people in the way they should be spoken to. And I think that's what's missing with VP Kamala Harris. And there's no shade on her. I think she's doing what not every VP is up in everybody's face. The VP is there just to support the president. But there's a lot of ways where VPs can represent themselves and specific issues that supports the president, but also on a side note, kind of supports other issues that should garner proper attention. You know what I mean? So again, I break it down to 4. Her presence on social media. I'm not worried about CNN and Fox. Nobody really puts that same amount of validation in these networks. Those days are gone. People connect with people on social media. So her support, how effective her presence, how effective her presence is on social media to carry those issues through to the people. And if she's in their face every day, because I see more Republicans talking shit and the Republican apparatus working in on the online mags and social media and all these different pundits and these social media folks, I see it all the time. Of course, Elon Musk is a prime Republican. Forget all that free speech business. He supports this far right MAGA business, and he makes sure that presence is felt on Twitter. Kamala Harris needs to do the same thing. Again, what she supports those issues and talking to people, regardless of what the issue is, whether it's a hot button issue or something as simple as daycare or healthcare or something. Talk to the people and directly talk to them from the heart. Don't know. See, her background as a Howard graduate, and people can tell the difference from that experience of being a Howard graduate, graduating from the HBCU and being in an environment teaching you on what it is to be African American in this country and relaying that to the people that look like you. That's very important. And if that doesn't come across, people will read right through that. And I'm not talking about, dancing on the line and ski-weeing and like this is the sorority I was a part of and I'm a dance at events. Nah, that's not what I'm talking about. It's what she does in those moments that are not scripted. In between those sit-down interviews, what is she saying that will have black voters connect with VP Kamala Harris? And then lastly, the struggle on those issues. Talking about the struggle on those specific issues. That we know that's not going to get a lot of traction, but at least she knows, hey man, I'm going to be real with you. This may not get a lot of traction in government, but yes, I'm connected to these things because I'm African American, regardless if she's mixed or not. Because Adam Clayton Powell, he was a finger snap away from being a white man. He was mixed himself, but you could see him connecting on those issues of what was affecting black people. And the same issues that affected black people in those times, what he was talking about at the podium, is the same issues that affected black people today. See my cat talking. You feel me where I'm coming from? Anything else, Pocketies? You understand what I'm saying? So those 4 things. That's why black voters really do not connect with VP Kamala Harris the way what's his name? The way Jason Lee expects black voters to connect with her. That's my opinion. That's all I got on that. It is what it is. Anyway, so the next subject. This Aussie CEO, everybody has seen this guy, Aussie CEO Tim Gurner. This trash talking. Oh my God, this CEO went viral on social media, and he was at some Australian Financial Review property summit, And of course, he's in real estate. He's hundred millions of dollars rich and, you know, wealthy guy. He was talking at the summit, and the words that he was picking to explain himself as how he feels about his employees or employees in general. Actually, he said, quote, "We need to remind people they work for the employer and not the other way around," unquote. We need pain in the economy. That's what he said. And when you go to this article, let me see if I have it open. Oh my God! Here we go. Here's this guy. I thought I closed this article right then in the Independent. So he says, and he was trying to backtrack because the video went viral. It's going everywhere. People were trashing him. People were dumping on this guy. And he came back out saying, you know, "I apologize for the words that I picked. Nah, motherfucker. You meant every syllable that you said." He meant every word that he said, that employees' backs need to be broken in order to get things straight, because it's employers that are the boss. So he says, what does he say? He says, quote, "There's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them as opposed to the other way around," unquote. Quote, "We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy," unquote. Oh, perfect. Oh, this is perfect, people. Now, let me tell you something. There's a lot of CEOs, and he's not, as I said, he is not sorry one bit. And there is a whole room of CEOs that think just like him and say this behind closed doors. They'll choose their words carefully when the lights are shining on them and they got a hot mic underneath their mouth. And they'll have certain fancy words that they want to give you on the direction of the economy and where it's going and what we need to do, and talking about Fed rates and inflation and deflation and how we're going to handle the dollar. And they give you these fancy words, and it's very carefully picked. Yeah, man, that's how they talk to you when the cameras are on. But how they really feel about you is this CEO, Tim Gurner. That's how they really feel about you. The arrogance, the condescension to people. They don't think of you as human beings. They think of you as, how can I extract as much money and as much labor as I can from them? And to hell with all if they are crying for a little bit of relief. That's how they feel about you. And that's how we need to turn a corner for the founders of tomorrow. That it's not about hyper capitalism and extracting every last drop of blood worth from your employees. It's about understanding where they're coming from. It's about understanding, treating them as human beings, and say, hey, have a balanced relationship of what you need as for the company and what they need as employees, that's going to give you that ability to make money, to put you in those positions where you're making millions of dollars. Understand what I'm saying? Yeah, man, that's crazy. That says a lot about where we are currently in this country, in terms of business, in terms of our government, how they're treating their voters, and definitely where we should be going now. How are we going to turn things around in this country for the better, for people, for the working class? And that's something that I always will support. So it's crazy. Absolutely crazy to hear that go down. The VMAs, man, the VMAs just went down. Oh man, it was trash. And you know what I'm talking about? It was trash. It was that, oh man, it was, oh man, the skank that was in the air. Oh man, if only you can smell what you watch on TV, and that's what the skankiness that was in the air. Oh man, the whole show was on. Oh, Sukiyana was busting it open for people on the camera, man. Man, it's almost like hot ho CB4. Oh man, that's where we at right now. I don't want to hear all that. You know, this dude consciously be like, no, women got to do. No. It's hot ho CB4. It's the hot ho CB4 or CB4 hot ho. You know what that is. I remember if anybody does not remember, CB4 was a movie that was starring Chris Rock, Alan Payne, and Deezer D, and it was about a movie about rappers that were trying to get on, and the way they were as initially as rappers, it just wasn't working out. And then there's this club owner who was Charlie Murphy. His name, the club owner was Gusto. He got arrested, and Chris Rock's character saw the attention that he was getting because he was connecting with the people in the street because he was hardcore, you know what I mean? He was gangster as a club owner, and he was like, he took on his persona, and he calls himself MC Gusto. So they go through this whole journey of them being CB4, like Cell Block 4, and they're like literally the spitting image of NWA. And you see them go through the whole movie as them putting on this persona and the troubles they go through and everything they're going through. And yeah, it was a funny movie, man. That was early Chris Rock. That came out, I think, like 92, 93, early on. But it just goes to show the silliness sometimes of some of the music, some of the artists in 92, 93 putting on that hardcore persona, and it wasn't really them. It was never really them. And it goes to show, like, okay, how much is fake and how much is real. And there's a fine line that blurs very easily in terms of what we see in those videos on those music shows and who these people are in real life. So, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now on the whole stroll on the VMAs. And it's trash. It's trash. Now, there's this dude, as I said before on the show Consciously, he was like, oh no, black women should be able to express themselves. It's freedom of speech. And, you know, we don't talk about all those other male rappers that denigrate and objectify black women in those videos when they're in the short skirts and the bikinis and all that. It's the same thing. Now it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's just a hypocrisy and it's a double standard and how we, you know, we're always trying to dissect and black women and what they do. We know it's the same thing, man. I get at male rappers just the same way where I'm getting at Sukiyana and Sexy Red. It's the same thing I'm getting at. How much are we going to put on this show? Especially when the majority of the buyers and listeners of hip hop music are white folks. So what are we actually doing here? We're talking about freedom of speech and being able to express yourself the way you want to in the music as it should. And yes, sexiness and objectification of women is not something that hip hop started, and it's something that's been a part of American culture. And we can break it down, thoroughly in that way. But it's a different situation when it comes to how we express ourselves as black people in this country and also around the world. Especially there's a certain, it's a whole other way understanding when you see that the majority of the people that listen to and buy hip hop music is white folks. So in what way you can saying that we should be able to express ourselves and they could talk about body parts and how they're going to be just the same way how men have done it, and it is that freedom of their sexuality that they have earned, that they should have as adults, as women, and all those things, and blah 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 blah, all those words, those fancy words. But how does that look when you have the majority of those gazing eyes are from white eyes? And how does that make us look? And it's not so much of a lot of say, hey, why are we worried about what white people or feel about or how they see black people? No, it's very real. In what way? Yeah, there's a certain degree. Yeah, well, why should we care what they say? We're going to do what we do. But then all of a sudden, why do we care what they say? Because of A, B, C, and D. So sometimes you can have both of those questions on the same piece of paper when you're trying to just figure this whole thing out as how how we as black people present ourselves when those cameras are on, when those hot mics are hot, and how you're gonna prance yourself up and down that red carpet in the ways you're gonna say things. Now, I'm not trying to police black women what they do. I mean, I understand you're gonna have that sexiness. That's that edginess. Even Beyonce shows a little skin. I'm not with that, but there's a line that Beyonce doesn't cross. That it just gets seriously trashy and gaudy that you see in Sukiyana and Sexy Red. Now, let me tell you, women in hip hop wasn't always like that. I saw some early videos of women in hip hop, and they were dancing. It wasn't no twerking and dropping like a low and busting it out on the camera. It was some serious work. They was like, yo, we dancing. We showing y'all we got dancing skills, and this how we gonna do it. And that was what was the look of the time in the early 90s. When it came to your backup dancers or the main singer doing a thing in coordination with the backup dance, there was dancing. That's why it's important to have the older generation, because the older generation understand what it was back in the day, and we can compare it to what was going on. So we have perspective. We can see things from more than one angle. But the younger generation, they don't know no better because they're experiencing it for the first time. And a lot of times to them from the older generation, but you say, no, we've been down that road. And we're saying how we don't want to repeat certain things, or sometimes everything has its time and things got to go out like any other fashion trend. So at what point do we say that this particular part of hip hop has had enough attention? Going back to the first one, Lil' Kim. At what point do we say to ourselves, and I'm not talking about people that grew up in the 60s and 70s and there was a different type of genre of music that was really had their attention of that generation, old R&B in the 50s and 60s, 70s, and then you have house music, whatever. Hip hop is 50 years old, and the people that were young, people that were children in hip hop, now we're parents, now we're uncles, we're fathers, we're mothers, we're grandmothers, we're grandfathers. And we see how the music have moved from one generation, one decade to the next. And we see some of the pitfalls. We see the benefit and how it's grew to the mega force that it is on a global stage. But we also see a lot of the pitfalls. And we're saying, wait a second. That's enough. That's enough. Let's do something different. We're not talking about hindering your freedom of expression as an artist. We're just saying it's time to look in another direction on how you're going to express yourself. That's not the only way. Don't become a caricature of yourself. Don't become the minstrel show. Like in Spike Lee's movie, Spike Lee's movie, what was Spike Lee's movie, The Minstrel Show? And that's a perfect example in terms of movies. Bamboozle. That's the name of it. Bamboozle. It was exactly the same thing. Yeah, white folks put on blackface in ways that to denigrate an entire race of people. They say that you're stupid and slow, and you eat watermelon, and you're animalistic, and you're useless, and what contributions have you made? And they do these things when they put on blackface back in the days in the 1920s, 1910s. And then there was times where it was so famous, you had black people putting on blackface and being the do step and fetch it. And we became the jokes, the butt of jokes, when we had to perform, when there was no other way to express yourself in the art. So you did what you had to do if you had to love that passion for acting to be on stage. There was no other way. So black actors did what they had to do. Black creators had to do what they had to do. And Spike Lee was talking about that for the music of the time. He was trying to make people be aware how we can become our own minstrel show when it comes to money. And that's what's happening with Sukiyana and Sexy Red, and everybody's trying to come. We're becoming our own. We're putting on the blackface now. We're dancing to the dollar now, especially. And what makes it worse is we don't have to. Nobody's saying that we have to do these things, especially how technology is and how the music industry has become what it is today. So are we women gonna still be busting it out and say, fuck you, I could do what I want and being as skanky as you want to? That's not artistry, man. That's just shock value. But when it's been done before and you're doing it still, what is that? It's not shocking anymore. Because we know in about 10 seconds flat, you're going to be busting it out on the camera getting down, getting low. We've seen that already. Now, what else do you have to give as an artist? And that's what people are saying. What else do you have to share that is going to make me want to buy your records? That's going to make me want to see you and praise you when you're getting that award on this VMA. We don't want to see you bust. It's been done. And sometimes you got to think as what we understand how the music industry puts the worst of the culture and puts them on blast to the millions and millions of people around the world. And it's almost intentional. There was this little piece that Sexy Red was talking about where her first boyfriend robbed someone or somebody or wherever just to give her first gift. I guess it was for her birthday or something like that. And she was like, "Oh my God, it was cute. He robbed somebody." And when you put that type of bullshit on camera, people gonna be like, "Well, this is what black people are." And it's been said. When you go to other places, when you go to Africa, when you go to China, when you go to Japan, when you go to Russia, they say certain things because that's all they see. If all they see is what, in terms of hip hop, on TV, what they hear on the radio is this, that's what they think African American people are. And be like, "Yo, what's up, my nigga?" They think you're going to respond in a way where they think that's how black people act. That's how, when you realize the impact that you're having around the globe, you start to check the words that you say. You start to move differently. And this is nothing new. There are artists that says, man, I looked at myself on camera and back in my days when I was I was wilding. And this is for every artist. And they straightened themselves up. So I think it's time for hip hop to mature. And I said it before, I said it again, if this is a culture like we say that it is, if we want to call this hip hop culture, and this is not just the music, but this is a culture that people represent, that people do, that we walk and talk it, and everything that it is, and our food and our style of clothes and our viewpoints and the way we utter our certain words and the way we talk to each other. It's hip hop. It's a culture. And if we respect it, then we got to respect it. Or we just here to get the bag. And that's what Sukiyana did. Sukiyana said that. There was another video that came out after the fact, and she was crying, she was upset, she was like, "Oh my God, I want to do this music no more. I'm just trying to make this money, get my family out the hood." You see, she's explaining, she's saying what we already know. She want to get her kids out the hood. She want to get her family out the hood and live a good life. She had an opportunity was presented to her to make money in this music art form. Now she's got the attention. The limelight is on her. She's going to sell records and she's going to do what's necessary to get her family out the hood. And how's that different from any other of those hip hop artists that have come before her? The hundreds they got the same story, and they're willing to do. They're going to do whatever, no matter how much it disrespects them, get that money. You know what I mean? What are you willing to, how much of your soul are you willing to sell? And let me tell you something. If it wasn't making any money, they wouldn't do it. But the masses expect that because that's what we've been shoveling all this while. And it comes to a point, well, that's all that they expect. And it becomes a self-perpetuating skank machine, a self-perpetuating gangster machine. And we're more than what we give on records for that small part of our lives. We're more than this. We got to have growth. We're human beings. So yeah, man, the VMA things was crazy, man. So we'll see what happens. And another thing with the VMAs, Tiffany Haddish was wilding. He was like, "Damn, man, why are you so stuffy?" No, I'm saying though, man. Yo, listen, what's the name? Marlon Wayans, when Tiffany Haddish was on the Ellen DeGeneres show and she was guest hosting, Marlon Wayans said it. He said it and she was doing it. Marlon Wayans saying, "Yo, you be on 10, you be on 20. You don't know when to just sit in that scene. We always got to check you and pull you back." And that's Tiffany Haddish. She don't pull back. She was running up on Shakira and shouting her name, doing all this thing. She was making herself look like a damn fool. You know what I mean? That's what Tiffany was doing. You ever watch a video that's embarrassing and you feel so embarrassed for them that you just turn it off and you look away? You ever have those situations like, God damn. You know what I mean? You just looking at the side of your eye. Yeah, that's how I was feeling. I'm like, damn, Tiffany, yo, pull that back. What's the last stand-up you seen Tiffany do that was rocking? And she's a comedian, right? Okay. Anywho, the next one, Robert Kennedy Jr., man. Robert Kennedy Jr. had a serious situation. He was in California at an event celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and there was a guy that ran up trying to enter, I guess, the area where he was at, fronting or pretending to be security. This guy's name was Adrian Paul Aspero, I think Aspuro, Aspero. And he was suited up in security gear, and he was armed, and he claimed he was a part of Kennedy's security detail, but Kennedy's security detail was like, we don't know you. And they held him, and to the point they called police and they got him arrested. And I think one of the charges say he was impersonating an officer or a federal agent, and there's also possible other charges, possession of a firearm, don't know. But this man was holding like 2 shoulder holsters with guns. He had spare ammo. He was carrying a U.S. Marshal badge on a lanyard and a federal ID on a belt clip. This dude was head up, but people looked right through it. It's security, and they did their job. But imagine you, Robert Kennedy Jr., your father got killed. Robert Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy. And to know that this man almost got in. If they wasn't slick with it, the security wasn't slick. This is what you got to deal with, man. Man, there's a bunch of crazies out there. And then, hopefully, Robert Kennedy Jr. takes care of himself. His security detail learns from this and is on their game when he's out there. Supposedly, we got some issues as far as the Democrats are trying to shut him out of the primaries, and he's an obvious threat to the Democratic Party. He has the name, the Kennedy name. He talks a lot of the talk that people want to hear. People don't want to hear people reading off of a teleprompter. The voters want politicians to talk to them about things that are hurting them currently. And that's what Robert Kennedy Jr. is doing. Do I agree with everything that he's saying? A lot of things I don't know. I'm not going to say. But the fact that he's trying and he's going at it, and he's going at it hard, and he's not reading from a teleprompter, and he's speaking to the people, and that's a very dangerous thing to the Democratic Party, and they don't want to upset the apple cart. So they're going to allegedly do things that's going to kind of lock him out. And it's not the first time. They did it to Bernie Mac. I meant Bernie Sanders, my bad. They did it to Bernie Sanders, man. They, the way the media was covering Bernie Sanders when he was running for president, they either they messed up the story on how Bernie Sanders was running his campaign, or they didn't even mention Bernie at all. It was like, hell no. So, it's the status quo, man. It's the status quo, and it's real. The next thing on the list, aliens. Did you see that thing with aliens? It was a Mexican. My cat again being loud. It was some Mexican congressional hearing, and they brought out 2 goddamn alien bodies about, say, 3.5 feet long in some glass encasement, and they were talking about these are aliens. I think it was a hoax. I think if I read correctly on Twitter, they were saying, "Oh, this is just a stunt." But it just reminds me. It just reminds me of that U.S. congressional hearing where they were talking about, there are aliens. And we can't really talk about it, but there are aliens for sure. Like, it just goes to show the lengths that the government is going to go through to avoid the subject matter of what voters are really talking about. They are talking about, that we are hitting, I'm going to say that one more time. We are hitting a chord. We are hitting a nerve, and we're getting to the real issues. That's why they're politicians are talking more about the culture wars and the actual real issues, what's going on in this country. Now they got to talk about goddamn aliens, and people don't care. It's the same thing before they found out that this thing was a whole hoax, or even thinking about it was a hoax. People were just actually screw facing this whole video. I'm like, damn, they got the Mexican government start doing this dumb shit. What? Who they sent out to Mexico to say, this is what we gonna do? You're gonna just put this out there, all right? We're gonna release a video, and we're gonna talk about we have aliens, all right? That's what we're gonna do. We can't do it on our side because they laughed at us the last time. If it comes from another country, maybe they'll swallow it this. Hell no, people weren't falling for that dumb shit. People were like, man, you can talk about lowering this goddamn rent. People talking about my health care. They talking about lowering this goddamn mortgage, student loan debt, these goddamn wars, giving billions away to Ukraine. You got homeless people running around in San Francisco and over here in New York. People don't give a goddamn about no aliens. Let's deal with these issues, man. That's what they're talking about. And of course, it came out later, I think. They just like, nah, that's some kind of stunt that's being pulled. But that's wild, man. That's mad funny. And lastly, the last thing before I get out of here, again, something that I saw late and I just threw down, and something to talk about on the show. The mayor of Chicago, Chicago. Let me see if I bring this up right quick. Mayor, what's his full name? Brandon Johnson. The mayor of Chicago This is the bullshit that I got to share with you guys. If you guys don't know what's happening, correct me if I'm wrong. Excuse me. Sorry. Correct me if I'm wrong. Feel free. But the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, says he wants to open city-owned grocery stores. You hear me, folks? You hear me? This dude had the cojones, had a set on him to fix his lips to say that the government is proposing opening city-owned grocery stores in food desert communities. Yo, son. Yo, B. Are you serious? Are you serious? Now, the Post covered it. Of course, they had their own racist spin on it because New York Post is a very far-right leaning racist bullshit. Well, before when it was a newspaper, bullshit newspaper, but online mag. I don't know what you want to call them now. But they covered it on the end of the show. But, you know, they covered it. But the bullshit that we hearing, yo, son, yo, let me tell you, you cannot tell me, I'm gonna wear the tinfoil, you cannot tell me mayors do not have handlers. Because a lot of this talk that they're giving to people is like, dude, I know the issues in major cities or counties. It's not fucking rocket science. You want to know how you fix a city, you give people opportunity, plain and simple. The Post went on some rant, all this crime high, crime. Man, let me tell you something. Yeah, they was off mark there, but they're certainly right to be up in the uproar of what the mayor was talking about in Chicago, to that bullshit. Let me tell you something. You know how you fix the issues in Chicago or any major city or any county, wherever there are people that are jobless? You start a program that's going to give people jobs, and if not jobs, give people an opportunity to be entrepreneurs, and those entrepreneurs are going to hire people in their community. That's how you take care of crime. And I'm not talking about the bullshit talking points about Chicago. Do you know what's going on in Chicago? That high crime. I'm not talking about that, but any economically depressed neighborhood, wherever you're at in the United States, you want to solve it, you create programs that's going to give people jobs or become entrepreneurs. But these motherfuckers ain't saying that. They're not saying that. They can't get they've been pulling bullshit for the last 50 years, 60 years, right? They've been saying a lot of bullshit. And what's key to how they use immigrants against black people is by giving them loans in order to open up stores in black communities, where of course obviously you give it for the people within their communities. No, they allowed immigrants or non-black people to open up stores, and this has nothing to do with immigrants. They just come here and they work whatever and they do what they do. But it's funny how this game of power is being played out, about the game of economics when you see the players on the board. And I was watching this thing with my family, actually. It was the making of this movie, Elemental. It was a good movie, by the way. It was cool. It was all right. It wasn't even the best, but I got it. And they were talking about one of the creators of this movie, Elemental, Disney made movies. He was Korean, and he was talking about his come up in New York and how his family came from Korea and his experiences in his early childhood. And he remember talking his dad talking about the stories where he first came, only had $150 in his pocket. He got himself a hot dog stand, and he was out there every day, 6 days a week, 7 days a week, to the point where they raised enough money where they actually were able to open up a corner store. And then eventually that corner store led to two, and that two led to the whole block. Here is a true American story that I can share with you that goes back all the way to Ellis Island, when the first wave of immigrants, which were Irish and Italian and Polish and all those people, were flooding into Ellis Island, how they started out with their apple carts. It's the same story again, the new American story, where this guy started a hot dog stand. I have no problems with that. But what I do recognize is the fact that African American people that have been here generationally, 60, 70, 80, 100 years, are still suffering from economic depression within their communities. And you have folks that are non-black come here, have the opportunity to start to open their own stores, not because they were hard workers, not because things they say, hey, they went in and they had the acumen and the hustle and the gumption. No. It was given to them. Yes, you can have as much fire in your chest of being an entrepreneur as you want, but if those doors don't unlock and open, it'll go nowhere. And I'm hearing the story. This I don't remember his name, and I'm like, wow, look at this story. But we also know what the experience is for African Americans, where even those that did show that they had the fire in their chest to be entrepreneurs and open up their own business, they were systematically locked out. And that's why black people, black communities do not own the stores majority wise in their communities, because at the end of the day, who is the gatekeeper? I'm not chastising the immigrant. Who at the end of the day, who has a hold of the check? Who has a hold of the check? Who writes those checks out? Who do we have to go to say, yes, I need $50,000 from my 100,000, 100, whatever it is at the time when it was in the early 90s, because this guy's like the same age as I am, to what it is today. And here we go. They cannot pull that same story because, of course, if you see on Twitter, you have some black folk that are at these local hearings with the local government. They're saying, yo, this immigration thing is getting out of control. We have so many homeless black folk in here in this particular community. And all of a sudden you're giving all these things to the immigrants. And rightfully so. I understand the argument. I get it. You have economic depression for the people that's been here for decades. All of a sudden, we're dealing with the immigration issue, and all of a sudden the mayors are like, well, we'll give them some. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. All these other people that has led to them being homeless, the majority they're saying in Chicago, in this community, is the majority of them are black folks that are homeless. And here we go. We're not talking about how we're going to provide solutions to these people. And here we go. Here it is. The system is still not giving black people opportunity. You know what they're doing? They have forced the mayor to say that we're going to open government-owned stores, grocery stores. This is a capitalist society. This is about creating economic opportunity. This is about pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, doing what's necessary, and you can open up your fruit stand. And eventually you can have 2 fruit stands. And eventually, maybe you can be a CEO of 500 people to 1,000. Any typical standard American story, that ruggedness, the drive, the tenacity that's needed to be an entrepreneur. And here we go. We're talking about government-owned grocery stores. And to the right, that's called socialism. That's to the right, the right-leaning people, they're screaming, that's socialist. And I'm gonna take a little bit of that. I'm gonna side with their argument for a second. Wait, well, I thought this was about capitalism. So now we're gonna forego. You can't pull that bullshit now because people are talking about it already. How you're giving money to other non-black people, and we're having serious issues right here in our own communities. So now you can't pull that hustle over there. Now you're saying, okay, I just don't want to give any black people any money. You know what? We're gonna have government-owned grocery stores. What? It is so obvious, man. People of Chicago, what are you gonna do? What are you going to do down there? The Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson says that bullshit. What are you going to do? It's up to you guys. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes politicians are going to talk the bullshit, and it's expected at this point. But the question is, what are you going to do about it? Yeah, that's wild, man. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? I never heard that before in my life. Government-owned grocery stores, really? So you just going to just like continue with the bullshit, still not give people no money so they can take care of themselves. You're going to be like, and try to pass it off as some progressive, open-minded, forward-thinking, we just want to help the people. No. That's not what we're talking about. All right, folks, I'm going to get out of here. Do with that information what you will. People not just in Chicago that's listening to this story, but people that's in every major city or county. Because if you're going to pass the bullshit in Chicago, guess where else going to try to, hey, well, they did it in Chicago. It worked. Understand what I'm saying? So, all right, folks, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you for listening. I'm almost at the 200th show. I'm almost there, man. I'm right around. I'm right there. I'm right there at the 200th. I'm gonna be a very happy camper when that does happen. I'm gonna get out of here, folks, so I can get this thing rocking and rolling. Thank you again for listening to me. Please smash the like button. Please follow me on YouTube and all my other social media handles. All you have to do is just go to Lyfeblood, LyfebloodDAO on Twitter, on TikTok, on IG. That's about it. I really don't have my Facebook page open anymore. And again, smash that subscribe button on YouTube. Please do. I appreciate you listening. I truly do. Honestly, I do. And I'll see you guys next week. All right, I'm out of here. Peace.
Check it.
You just listened to GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com. For the global community.
We worldwide, baby.
See you in the next go-round. From right here to your town, we out.